Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelley Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work and property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. Welcome to PropTech Pulse. Today, I am speaking with Ruthy at Risebot. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you very much for inviting me to this invitation. So thank you very much.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today, as well as hearing more about what you're building at Risebot. So, before we get started, I'll just tell our viewers you've got an announcement. So stay until the very end so you can share that. But to kick us off in our conversation, why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about kind of what your journey is that's brought you here today and kind of the why of what you're building at Risebot?
Okay. So my name is Ruthy Portnoy. First, I'm a mother for 3 teenagers. The eldest is 21, she's studying in a medical school right now. And the others are 17 and 15 years old. They are still at the high school. So that's my major role. And besides that, I'm the founder and CEO of Risebot, which is a PropTech that I established about 3 years ago with my incredible team. In Risebot, we have been developing predictive models which identify the areas across the U.S. Expected to achieve the highest properties price movement in the next 3, 5, and 10 years. And we have been developing for multifamily, retail, and office, completely different models, and for 3 years, for the next 3, 5, and 10 years. So that's the major product that we have been developing for the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And sorry. You asked about my background. So actually, my background is financial. I worked at S&P for 10 years as a director. I was responsible for rating of financial institutions and structured finance. And I see a lot of similarities between what I did in S&P and what we are doing at Risebot. The rationale is the same. The rationale of credit rating is to enable investors to compare between bonds or liabilities that have been issued across different countries and by companies from different industries. And that's exactly what we're doing at Risebot. But we are rating communities across the U.S. And enable our users to compare between the attractiveness, the investment attractiveness of different communities located across the U.S. based on the same methodology. So I think it has the same rationale, and that's something that was in my back of my mind before establishing Risebot.
That's a great background.
Yeah. Before after sorry, take 2. Before Standard & Poor's, I was in a Israel Securities Authority, which is the equivalent of S&P of SEC in the US. And we and my colleagues, we published some research articles that were published in the Financial Journal, Journal of Finance, sorry. After resigning S&P in 2013, I was an advisor, financial advisor for some corporate, and
Yeah.
also was appointed as a board member and committee chairwoman on behalf of the board member of the board in some diversified companies. And that's led me to actively contributing to strategic decision making and guiding companies through complex, multidimensional challenges. And so that's actually, if I can, uh, look I mean, if I can, analyze my career along the way, so there were um, some very major parts in my career that I can identify. There is the building analytical capabilities.
Yeah.
It was mainly I mean, when I serve as a director at Standard and Poor's. And then there is the phase of building business capabilities while serving as a financial advisor and as a board member in some companies. I still serve as a board member in three companies currently.
Yeah.
And there is the Risebot journey that's what I focus my energies and my time in the last 3 years. Yes, that's my new baby.
And so, what was kind of your aha moment for you and going, ah, multifamily real estate, commercial? What was kind of that moment that drew you in to focus on this particular business?
Yes, since my background is financial, so I mean, I always wanted to be in the intersection between finance and technology. And I started with some initiatives in the fintech, which I mean, it was just, as a starter. And at the end of the day, I decided to get into the PropTech industry. Why PropTech? Because it's a huge industry. The investment in real estate in the U.S. It's not so technology oriented, uh, and I see the improvements over time in the last 3 and 4 years. So there is a lot of potential of taking technology from other areas and integrate them in the real estate real estate investment domain, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, so that was, it was like a dream to make something which is bred. I mean, it is completely new in a very conservative market. So that's
Yeah.
what's the rationale and the incentive to do so.
Ripe for the disruption, and sometimes, especially I find on the ownership side, and we were chatting a little bit earlier about your clientele really being that ownership side, right? They're looking for acquisitions, they're looking for dispositions, they're looking to evaluate maybe a new market that they may be trying to get into. Tends to use a lot of traditional spreadsheets in their analysis, right? Um, so how do you see, and this kind of leads to our next part of the conversation, how do you see this changing the way that people in acquisitions and dispositions and their analyst team, right, their portfolio analyst teams, how are they going to work differently if they have your tool? How do you see that changing? And
Yeah. So actually, I mean, Ricebot is coming into a very, it's there is a lot. It is defined with a lot of huge data, real estate data providers like CoStar and Green Street and others.
Mhm.
And it is very challenging to compete with those giants because they're really they have been established for years, and are really giants companies. However, since we are doing a very unique, advanced product, so I believe that there is room for anybody who create a product which is have a value proposition for the professionals. And what I see is that in the last 2 or 3 years, since the interest rate was very, very high, and so the focus of the real estate professional was getting in being much more efficient. In
Mhm.
their focus were in decreasing expenditures,
Yep.
and that's what we saw. I mean, a lot of startups which were focused especially in property management, uh, is making all this operational activity very efficient by especially using the AI generative technology, which is very, I mean, it's widespread across a lot of industries right now. So the focus in the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, on the technology side in real estate was by integrating technologies that were part of making the operational activity of properties management much more efficient, especially in the connection between the owners and the tenants. That's what we
Yeah.
saw in the last 2 or 3 years. But since the interest rate is expected, there is currently there is an increasing and decreasing trend in the real estate in the market, and I think that I and a lot of professionals expect this trend to continue along the way. So that would make the investment in real estate much more frequent, and
Yeah.
in a very in a larger volume than it was in the last 2 years. And then product which are focused on on the investment side will be very, very popular. And what we are doing, I mean, Risebot is not only decreasing or making the investment process much more efficient, because you can imagine that you can that Risebot is okay. Let's start what Risebot does. Risebot identifies the areas which are which are expected to achieve the highest price movement,
Yep.
properties price movement across all areas in the U.S. So something that is very time consuming, and analytical, a lot of analytical resources to explore where to invest, or what are the areas which are going to be the next hot spots, could be could be done by Risepot platform in one click. So that's
Yeah.
something that is very unique. I think that once we started to develop Risebot, I mean, the first prototype was based on maps, on like Google um, Earth, that you can put your preferences on the filtering side, and then the map drill down exactly to the areas which are expected to be the most attractive
Yeah.
ones, but also align with the user own preferences. So was
Yeah.
3 years ago, and currently, you see that a lot of other companies, they use maps in order to present, the deal flow, the transactions, whatever, all the things that they would like to present to their users. They do it on maps. So that's one thing that is very that's one thing that we started with. And the other thing that is that Risebot is very unique at is that there is no bottom line. I mean, there are a lot of platforms for real estate which can you can fill as a user, you can fill in a specific address, and then you can see a lot of features for this specific address or market or specific building. However, there is no bottom line, meaning that there is no one score as a rating that
Yep.
integrates all the relevant feature into a one score into the bottom line, which integrates
Yeah.
all. The users can look for any features, uh, uh, one by one that are presented in the platform, and they can, review the features that they would like to. However, they do have the bottom line that integrates all into one score. And that
Sure.
enables user to compare between different areas in one click. In different area, I mean different communities in one click. And that's something that I think we are the only one that I mean, I think that Risebot is the only one that does it for real estate professionals. And that's one of the unique that we are, um,
Yeah.
bringing to the market.
So So much more time efficiency, save time, less stuck in spreadsheet modeling, and able to get to that value sooner and faster than their competition. Which is a lot of people enter into multifamily real estate transactions as an analyst. They get a bachelor or a master's degree, and they're spending 50% of their day in Excel spreadsheets trying to make numbers make sense rather than kind of spent on high value time. So what I hear you saying is they can focus more on that high value delivery of getting to that decision point a lot
Exactly.
faster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't need
Um,
they don't need to collect data anymore. I mean, we have all the relevant data in the platform. And also
yeah.
we have some proprietary data that, like all the transportation projects under planning. I think we are the only one that gather and process this information in the US. And so they don't need they don't need to collect the data anymore. They just need to make the decision making and be focused
Mhm.
on the decision making and not in a raw data. And that's exactly what we wanted to these professionals uh, to be focused in. Currently we are not. I mean, the platform um, doesn't have the features to evaluate if a specific property is priced or underpriced. I don't think there is a model, a statistical mathematical model that can do so, because there are so much elements or features that contribute to the difference in valuation between different properties. However, based on the models that we have been developing already, uh, we are we're started to develop a new product, which by filling in the specific address, the platform could give the users input of the expected rent roll uh, for this community in the next 3 or 5 years. Yes, that's something which is
Sure.
derives directly from the models that we've already developed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to look at that too, because you can reverse engineer that back to the performa and your valuation and kind of what you want to spend on it.
Uh-huh.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you see any other trends kind of in what you're building and the way that work may be changing for these individuals in this area of asset management and investment management? with your tools?
Yeah, I saw a lot of products or tools that are based on AI generative,
Yep.
um, and that's their purpose is to eliminate the time, um, spent on, um, prioritizing the deal flow that comes into the funnel. There are a
Yeah.
lot of tools. Which the same purpose to do so. Actually, we at Risebot we do use AI models, but we use it as a predictive model. It's not a generative AI. Generative AI
Okay.
is more based on text and images, and that's not what we're doing. It is more the core predictive models that we are
Hmm.
using with a lot of power to distinguish between um, areas which are going to thrive most and areas which are going to be which are saturated already.
Okay, it's really awesome. I love the mapping and the overlays and the faster decisioning. I think it is ripe for disruption right now, and people are looking for an edge. I went to the NMHC conference back in January, and that was really the conversations. Where can we even make deal flow happen? What should we be looking at? And there are emerging markets. Those are the other conversations. It's not necessarily your standard metro areas anymore. It's the sub metro areas that are going to become the next metro areas based on the upcoming jobs and the way that people live and work now with remote work. So it's an important disruptive technology that you're building. Anything that you think is going on in kind of multifamily real estate that you think is overhyped right now, or any trends that you're really watching that maybe our viewers might not be aware of, or they may be watching it too? Anything you want to share there?
I just want to go back to what you just said, and I can tell you that it's so. Once you see it visually,
Hmm.
and I personally, there are some. Sometimes I don't really understand something uns unless I see it visually. So
Yeah,
that's why we use the maps. It's so obvious to see patterns on the map. And what
yeah.
you're saying, and that's exactly what you said. The traditional markets that are known as very attractive ones. So most of them are based in the Sunbelt states. Once we have our models output on the map, you can see that most of them are already saturated, which is not surprisingly because these markets, they have, they've had a lot of capital flow in the last 20 or 30 years. So because of
Mhm.
so much capital flow into these areas, they experienced a huge development there. But
Yeah,
the real estate properties are much higher than they were 10 years ago,
yeah.
and people are and the residents there. It's all the economy there became very expensive. So you can see that people are not immigrating to those areas anymore. They are going to other areas, more cheaper areas. And that's exactly the areas which are going to be the next hotspot in the next 3 years or 5 years. And that's exactly what we are doing to identify those. So the ones that already invest in those traditional markets, they have to adopt a cherry pick approach right now because
Hmm.
not all the tracts, the census tracts in Houston or Austin or Charlotte or other markets are attractive anymore. Most of them are already saturated, and that's exactly, the challenge that I see for real estate acquisitions team is exactly to identify the areas which to build their pipeline for the next few years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh,
And the whole transportation data. and infrastructure data to me is super powerful because you may have an idea for a 400 unit property, and if there's no infrastructure around it, it wouldn't make sense to overburden that area at the time. So I love that
Exactly.
focus is there.
Exactly. When I, started this to develop the models, I mean, the question was, what could be the features that uh, most contribute to area to be a thriving one? The areas
Yeah.
that currently are underserved, but I mean, along the way, we watch those areas experience a huge transformation and becoming a
Mhm.
thriving areas. And one of the features that I thought about is all transportation features, all the transportation planning initiatives. And at the end of the day, we found it as a crucial element in our analysis. And that's not surprisingly because this feature integrates a lot of data behind it. For example, I mean, once you think about it, you understand that the planning of transportation projects is not coincident. It is done by regional authorities, and there are a lot of billions of dollars which are spent on these initiatives, and their purpose is to eliminate the gap between the current facility and the future demand. And who
Yeah.
knows best what is going to be the future demand more than the regional authorities, which are responsible for approving building permits and all the approving all the development plans, not transportation, but all the development plans of developing new school, developing
Oh,
all the facility, and it can be federal funded, local funded, or private sector funded. Even an entrepreneur would like to develop a retail, building a huge retail facility in an area. So they know all this information, and that's exactly the purpose of the transportation projects. They their purpose is exactly to eliminate the gap between what is the current transportation facility, and what is going to be the future demand, and what are going to be the needs for transportation 20 or 30 years from now.
it's all interconnected and works together well or not at all. Um, before we wrap up today, did you have announcements that you wanted to share with our viewers?
Yeah, so the the major product of Risebot is what I said is the platform that answers the most fundamental question of the real estate professionals: where to invest. So that's
Yes.
exactly direct our users to the areas which are going to thrive most. And since the platform is by census tract, which is a very small geographical unit, I understand that a lot of professionals, they are more used to high level analysis, talking about markets and not census tract. And that's why, and
Yeah.
that's the drive to establish a new product which are going to be launched soon, which is going to there's two actually, there are two major points that I would like to emphasize. The first one is that is going to be focused on markets, in that census tract, and we're going to start with Atlanta. And the
Oh,
second
nice.
thing is that it's going to include all the all the development plans, not transportation, all the development plans that have been announced recently in the area, including
Yeah.
all employers, big employers that announced for expansion in this area or coming into this area, and all the local agency development initiatives, which is not um, which is not included in a traditional data kits of the traditional real estate data providers. And I think it's very, very important for analysts to get informed of what is going on in the next few years before deciding or getting a decision making for investment in this area.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to see your success, and we'll make sure we put your website and your LinkedIn in the episode so that people can get in touch with you. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me today, Ruthie.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much, Shelley, for inviting me.
And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelley Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.